Hello, this is Dr. Hassan Abdullah with the course Web Applications Programming. And the topic is creating dynamic application. And in this topic, we have had quite a few applications developed and running. And this is lecture 15H. So, in this lecture, in this video lecture, we will look at the code and the running and the application and the demo of a secure login authentication system. Because whatever application we make for the web, it will usually, if not always, have two interfaces or two or two components or two views. One is the generic or the general view for the general visitors, and the other is the admin view or the admin panel, where a lot of activities take place which the visitors are not needed or not required or for them to do. For example, adding the users or editing the users from the database or deleting the users from the database and so on. So they are a host of activities. So what it constitutes. So let's see what it will do. So what actions will be done? Now these are not any hard and fast actions. You can have your own actions, but they have to be logical, and there has to be some basis for them. So the first thing for that login is create a registration page. So before somebody can access your system to log on, that person has to register, even if they don't have the admin privileges. But say, for example, if you read your email, so first of all, you have to register and get an email account, right? And then you start sending and receiving emails. So that's the registration page. So you need to develop that registration page. So once you have the registration page, then you have to have a login page. So using that login page, you provide the credentials which are matched against what you registered, and then you log into the system. And when you log into the system, what you do is that it could be, it depends upon the implementation. So your credentials are used within the login page for the authentication purposes. And when the authentication takes place and it is successful, then the control takes you to the admin or the welcome secure page. So you see that there is a registration page, there is a login page, and there is the admin page. And on that admin page, there could be linkages with the operations which you are looking at. So when you are at the admin page, you do the needful whatever required to be done, and then you can log out. And when you log out, then it depends upon where you want to take the control. You can take the control to the login page, or you can take the control to a thanks page or whatever. Of course, it is possible that your credential do not match. So when they do not match, then of course you take display an error message and exit to the login page. So you see that there are a lot of activities in it and a lot of working to be done. And now let's move on to the C panel, and we look at the code, and we look at the tables, and we look at the demo, so that everything fits together. So as I mentioned that this login and authentication involves number of forms or number of pages. So what you are seeing on the screen right now is the registration form or the registration page. And depending upon your requirement, you can have whatever you want and you need. So I have filled it for you. And before I actually register, I would like to show you the contents of the database. So I go to the database, and this is the database which we are using, and it has 7 records. And there's a purpose why I'm showing you these 7 records. Now we go on to the form itself, and I register. Okay, and I register, and I get a message that like you are registered successfully. Apologies for it is for the truncation. So now I go back to the database, right, to the table, and I show you, and you see this is not right because the password is visible here. Over here, the password is not being shown; it is encrypted. Actually, it's hashed, and over it is visible. So that's highly undesirable. Why? Because I did not hash it. So to hash it, I go to the registration page and over here I type MD5. Okay, MD5, and I save this, save the changes. Okay, I save the changes. I go back to the registration page again. I refresh it. Okay, I go to the registration page and I go to registration. Okay, and let me fill it for you again. So I fill that page again. Okay, now there's a different user, a different username, and we register. Okay, register, and the registration was successful. Then I go back and I show you that table again. Okay, now you see that I have this different user, Sam123456, and the password is encrypted because of the MD5 hash function which I've used. So this is much better. This is I wanted to demonstrate to you. So we go back to the registration successful page, and I go to login, and I go to login and I enter it. Okay, enter the password, and okay, let me enter the password wrong. I enter the wrong password. All right, so I get a message that I have the number of attempts there and whatever, and I can register now. But now I will enter the correct password. Okay, and all right, so I do a login and welcome to the admin page and do the needful. It is not connected anywhere, but it can be the admin page where you can add users or delete them or edit them and do a logout. And this logout is linked to login. It could be linked to any other page also, or I can do and go to register also. So that's all the functionality. Now we look at the code itself. So we look at the code starting with the registration page. So this over here basically is for the bootstrap to make the appearance look good. And then is the font awesome, which shows the font corresponding to the login and the home at the bottom of the page. And then we have this connection over here, database connection. So the username, password, and other information is there. I would strongly suggest you to follow this approach. And then at the end, we have this. We need to do the registration. So welcome to register. This is going to be displayed on the screen when this page is called, and enter the full name, and you can read this all of this stuff. And then of course this is the gender here. This is a drop down menu and other information. And this means that this is mandatory, right? This is mandatory. And this at the bottom is the login and the home links. And this is for the font awesome, which I mentioned. So this is going to be displayed. And when you enter this information, okay, this data is going to be checked for SQL injection. So this strip slash is going to remove anything which is kind of dangerous, right? And then this date and time combination is created. And so this is going to happen when the registration button is pressed. So this is always going to check. And this if and this is when if it passes through, then there's going to be a check if the user already exists or not. Because if the user exists, then with that username, this username cannot be have another person registered. So if the user and when it's going to happen, it's going to happen if at least one row is returned, because then it's a match. So if there is a match, okay, greater than or equal to one row is returned, then user already exists, right? And click here to register again. So this is going to call that page again, right? And else if the user does not exist, then of course enter the all the information which was asked, right? And this is MD5. This is kind of a old approach, so there are new encryption techniques. So use that encryption technique to encrypt the password, and then display the message you are registered successfully, right? And click here to login, and then we do the login. So this is how it's gonna work. And this is within this form, okay? Form class. This is the method, and here is going to be the button which basically performs the registration. Okay. So now we move on to the login page. So this is the login page, and here actually are the credentials which are checked for login. These are the credentials, okay. And there is also a button to register. So if a person doesn't have a login account, to the person can register. So once the person has registered, then here is the database connection made, and the session starts, and the variables are initialized for so it is said that the max number of attempts will be 10, and the lockout time is 5 minutes, and the necessary variables are initialized as session variables, and the current time is noted. And then of course it is checked that how many login attempts have been done, okay. And too many failed attempts will not accept pass for the next, so this time is converted into minutes. And if it is if the lockout time has been expired, then it is reset. That was the time was 5 minutes. And then of course is the check the login. And this login checked, and how it is checked, it depends upon the number of rows returned, right. And if there is an error, okay, when that error is going to happen. So here the sanitization takes place of the username and password, okay. And here we will be using the decryption, right, for the password. And that look at the number of rows returned. If the number of rows returned is 1, it means there's a match, okay. It means there's a match. And if that match occurs, then of course proceed ahead and look at the login attempts. Of course these are also checked, and this is there where they are maintained. And if everything is fine, then it takes to the admin.php page. Admin.php page is a page which is the secure page where the administrative tasks are done. So now let's look at the admin.php page. So we are now at the admin.php page, right? We set the session, and we ensure that the person has logged in, right? And then we go on, and we have two buttons. One is do the needful, and then do the logout. And then we make the database connection, right. And check, right, and check fetch associate. This is just nothing, uh, uh, no, nothing is going to be displayed when you click on the do the needful, right. And this is here that if the person clicks on the logout button, then the session is destroyed, and redirected to the login page. So that's all. So this is very simple approach of using the authenticated login. That's about it. Thank you very much.